Beep. Beep. Boop. Beep. Beep boop. Gonk.
Gonky talk. Ba-da-da-da.
Well, it's Wednesday night, and we're at Rachel's apartment, and that must mean it's Starformers night. Welcome, everyone, to Rebels and Robots, episode 10.
I can't believe we made it.
We made it. You know, it's funny when I'm listening to podcasts, I fly through them so quickly, like 10 episodes it feels like nothing. But when you're recording them in real time, 10 episodes feels like a lot. So, congratulations, Rachel, for getting through 10 episodes.
Congratulations, Cameron,
of a podcast with me.
I can't believe we've gotten this far. Truly a testament to our friendship.
Absolutely. I forgot to do our official intro where I say it's Rebels and Robots. I'm Cameron.
I'm Rachel.
And we talk about Star Wars and
Transformers.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
We try. We normally find fun ways. It's almost like...
It's been a lot of Star Wars.
It's almost like a blatant Star Wars podcast where we try to slide Transformers references.
I found this one funny meme from Twitter about Transformers.
Hey, you know what? That's where the Transformers community lives right now, is
waiting in purgatory for Rise of the Beasts. Between Earthspark and Rise... No. Yeah, between Earthspark and Rise of the Beasts, there's not a lot going for them right now.
Oh, man. Hey, Optimus Prime did get that Lifetime Achievement Award last week.
Oh my gosh, Cameron, no, wait. I have to tell you.
Kick us off.
Okay, so as we spoke... they awarded Optimus Prime the Lifetime Achievement for Nickelodeon.
At the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards.
Do you know how many people have gotten that?
I remember you told me this week, but I don't remember what the number was.
2.
Two prior people.
No, total.
Optimus Prime is the second.
He's the second one.
Did they start it last year, though? Like, how long have they been doing it?
I don't think so. Let me...
I almost typed in Mandalorian Kids' Choice Awards.
Do you want to know who
Nickelodeon?
Do you want to know who's oh my gosh, why can't I find it? No.
Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards Lifetime Achievement.
I cannot believe I didn't Okay, do you know who it is?
I'm gonna guess someone like let me guess. I'm gonna guess someone like Cena. John Cena or The Rock or Rosie O'Donnell.
I'm shaking my head. You guys can't see that.
Who?
Dan Schneider in 2014.
No. That's too deep of a thing to unpack on a podcast like this. It's totally irrelevant, but just look up a video on Dan Schneider. Here it is. Winners. Wow. Oh my gosh. It's too much. There's too much to explain there. I will just say, I would never have thought there'd be something in common between Dan Schneider and Optimus Prime, but life finds a way.
The Venn diagram of Optimus Prime and Dan Schneider. It's a very small middle that they share.
And wanted for war crimes.
Oh no! But yeah, so.
Oh gosh.
We're off to a strong start tonight.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for finding that, though. That's
You're
deep
welcome.
research. How did you find that? Like,
I
why?
just saw it online where someone was like,
"Oh, someone else said it." Okay.
Yes, I don't have the credit. I didn't look up who's won the Lifetime.
That's okay.
But someone said only 2 people. I think it was TikTok. So like, only 2 people have won it. And I was like, that sounds fake. So I looked it up, and it's not. The list is Dan Schneider in 2014 and Optimus Prime in 2023.
Hilarious.
So who's gonna get it in the next 10 years? That's crazy.
Well, on a much lighter note than that, from this last week, I met up with my old roommate. I hadn't seen this guy like 3 years, and
really,
yeah, he's my first roommate when I was a grad student.
Yeah.
So shout out to Max. I really doubt he's going to listen to the pod, but
doxing him.
We got talking about Star Wars, and then later on he mentioned his cats, and one of his cats' names is Cassian.
Aww.
Which I think is normal name. I think there are people named Cassian, so I didn't presume it was named Star Wars after Star Wars, but he told me it is named after Andor.
These are my cats, Star and Wars.
But he named his cat after Cassian Andor. I thought it was very cute.
Tier. It's very adorable.
So that's fun.
Andor.
Cats. Oh man, what a missed opportunity. What do you have in other news from last week?
Do you know what was supposed to come out this week on the 17th?
I have no idea.
Jedi Survivor, the game.
When did they delay it?
April 28th.
Oh, yeah. I think we talked about that on the pod a few weeks ago, that it got delayed a few weeks.
Did we? I don't remember that. I thought we talked about
when did they delay it?
Like just this week.
Oh, wow. So it was supposed to come out this week. They delayed it this week? Are you serious?
Yeah. Apparently for bugs. To like really fine-tune some bugs.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor, correct?
Yep.
So is there any connection between this game and the original Star Wars Jedi series?
Yes. Wait, what do you mean?
There was like Star Wars Jedi Outcast, Star Wars Jedi Knight.
No, it is a direct sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
But even like this, like Fallen Order, like Jedi Fallen Order, like that's because this is titled Star Wars Jedi: Survivor, which makes it seem like it's almost a reboot of the original Star Wars Jedi series. I'm not
sure because it only follows
Cal Kestis.
Kestis.
That's just interesting they would use that exact title. Star Wars Jedi is the official name of the game series.
I don't know.
There already was a Star Wars Jedi series.
Oh.
It was like a continuation of the Shadow of the Empire because it followed Jedi Outcast. You played as Kyle Katarn.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Something like Kyle Katarn, I think is his name.
Yep.
And then in the sequel to that, Jedi Knight. No, it was Jedi. No, sorry, it was not the Jedi series. It was the Jedi Knight series. It was Jedi Knight. Jedi Outcast was the name of the game.
You agreed to stay away.
I lied.
Wrong game, but
and then the second game was called Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, and you got to like create your own character, and you were at Luke's temple on Yavin. This was pre Disney, so you don't get
Kylo.
You don't get purged at the end by a young Kylo Ren.
It's a reputation based game on how well you treat Kylo if you live or not. Not that I'm aware of. It is solely about Cal Kestis, and because it's placed after Order 66, which I guess
Jedi
it's just
is it is interesting that there was a Jedi Knight series, and this is just called Jedi.
So when I played, spoilers for Jedi Fallen Order, he plays Cal Kestis 5 years after Order 66, and dude's just living his not so best life under the Empire as a Jedi survivor, which is the next game. And about, I think, 2/3 of the game, because throughout the game, Cal is healing his relationship with the Force, and you get his flashback when Order 66 happens.
I've seen that on YouTube.
The clone gives him a high five. He's like, good job. And then, so I'm playing it, and, Order 66 happens, and I'm like, oh, this is so sad. And then it starts playing, the music starts playing Anakin's Dark Deeds. And I was like, oh no, it got so much worse. I love that song. That's my favorite. It's my favorite song. I'm always... go ahead. I live in fear of accidentally like walking around in public with my headphones in, and I get confronted by one of those like TikTokers. They're like, "What music are you listening to?" And I'm like, I don't know how to explain that I'm listening to Anakin's Dark Deeds. I don't know how to explain, because they always do like a little snippet of me, like, and it's a lot of like classical or podcast. And can you imagine? It's Anakin's Dark Deeds. Thanks, bye.
So in other news, I learned, so South by Southwest was this last week, which is a arts festival in Austin, Texas. A lot of films premiere there. And one that I had not heard of prior premiered. It's a documentary called A Disturbance in the Force. And it's a documentary about the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Of all the things you were about to say, I did not know where that was going.
I had not heard of this prior, and I think we'll have to watch it whenever we get a chance to.
Yeah.
And I'm looking
Maybe when Bad Batch is over.
I'm not sure who the two guys who directed this were. They don't have a ton of IMDb credits. The most recent, one of the directors has never directed before.
Oh.
His most recent credit on IMDb, as far as being a producer, is being a segment producer on the original Whose Line Is It Anyways?
What?
Wild. The improv show hosted by
Drew Carey.
Drew Carey. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I don't know who these guys are, but
so it's got to be funny, right? Maybe.
Oh, the documentary. Yeah, I can't see how you can't. No, it definitely is, because it has listed on here people who are interviewed include Weird Al, Gilbert Gottfried, which you don't know is a famous comedian who was the original voice of the Affleck duck.
Wait,
and he's the voice of Iago in.
Isn't he
Aladdin.
dead?
I don't know. He's not. My brother actually met him last year. I don't know who you're thinking of, but he's not dead. No, never mind. I was wrong. He died last April. I did not realize this.
Rest in peace, Gilbert. Who did your brother meet?
He must have met him. It may have been 2 years ago, but he met him.
Rest in peace,
or
Gilbert
it may have been like
Gottfried.
right before he died. Wow. Crazy.
Sorry to
It's
burst,
been less than a year.
sorry to burst your bubble, but as you said that, I was like, I don't think that's right.
I didn't know that. And also on the documentary is Seth Green from Family Guy, and he also one of the creators of Robot Chicken and such. So there's a lot of Paul Shear's also on here, a lot of comedians.
There's a lot going on.
So anyways, I think that'd be fun to watch. Just a bit of news there. You got anything else?
I had an interesting, I had a fun conversation with some friends the other night. We were playing games, and the topic of the second Mando episode came up, and the topic of Bo saved Din. Why doesn't she have the Darksaber? Why is it not technically hers at this point? He was incapacitated. She saved him. By law, wouldn't it be hers? And I was like, well, it doesn't really matter, because she lost it before. So in the eyes of the people, like, she's lost her chance. Like, these people have not seen Rebels, so Rebels spoilers. Season 3 specifically. Anyways, so they're discussing, like, if she won it before, why not? Like, why wouldn't she have it? And I had to, like, hold myself back, because none of them have seen Rebels, and I know some of them are working their way through it, and I'm like, I can't answer that. It's because she was given the Darksaber, so it doesn't matter. Because she was given to it, they're like, okay, I guess we'll allow it. But because she, was given to her, and then she lost it. So it's not even like she lost it in, like, homegirl, in the eyes of the people, screwed up. So anyways, I was just, like, sitting there, like, that meme of the kid, like, concentrating, like, the veins popping out on his forehead. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes.
That's how I felt. I was like, I can't spoil it. I know the answer, but I was literally like, I can't say this information without spoiling very important lore in Rebels. And it was funny because my best friend was like, man, I guess I just need to watch Rebels. And I was like, yes.
Darn right.
Do it. So that was pretty much it. But it was like, oh man, because she never really won it in the first place. It was given to her. Anyways, I was just like, the only person really in the room who'd seen all of Rebels. So I was like, I have the info and the lore, but I know some of y'all are watching it right now, so I can't say it.
My last item for the intro segment is just an observation, a possible, not necessarily conspiracy theory, because we know that Disney Plus changes things after they've uploaded. But do you recall when we watched Book of Boba Fett together? They
put 2 episodes of Mando.
Yes, we've talked that to death. No, they would be random shots that were like underexposed. There'd be random, like it would cut to a different angle, and that shot would be really dark. I'm currently rewatching Boba Fett with my fiance, and I haven't noticed that at all.
Interesting.
And it's funny that I would bring it up this particular week. Actually, what kind of reminded me to write it down was there was something weird going on with your TV, and we couldn't figure out if it was your TV. But this week, we've never experienced it before. It was like random color flashes, but this was different. This was distinct shots. Were not exposed.
And it happened a lot in the desert scenes.
Yes. I have not noticed that once. And we have similar televisions, you and I. We both have Vizios.
My TV's 4K.
So I think
And it wasn't doing it with my Switch.
And we were also watching Boba Fett like the day it came out.
Yes.
So I suspect they made some mistakes in those uploads somehow.
What? Mistakes?
I wonder, I'm going to try to do a quick Google search to see if I can find anything about this.
Maybe Reddit would probably know.
Book of Boba Fett, like
Mistakes?
exposure problems
Mistakes
on Disney Plus.
In my editing?
Yeah, if you Google search Book of Boba Fett mistakes, I think I'm going to get a lot.
You're going to get... Oh, I should keep my mouth shut. You're going to get other podcasts, Cameron.
It's still a bunch of people complaining.
Star Wars Theory? Maybe cut that out.
Let's see here.
Slanders other podcasts.
No, do it. Let's see. I don't know how to Google search this. Nothing's immediately coming up. Book of Boba Fett. Like,
this is what happens when you pay all those artists an exposure.
Lighting issues. Dolby Vision issues. For some reason. Yeah, here's someone talking about it on Reddit.
Thanks, Reddit.
Dolby Vision issues. For some reason, when I watch the show on Apple TV, it seems like slight brightness issues at the end of a shot. Hasn't happened. Can you explain? Highlights. No, not much going on here. Huh? Not sure. Here's another. I don't know. I should have done this before the show. Not particularly interesting. I thought it was fascinating. I just noticed it and thought it was something. So, anyways, do you have anything else for this segment?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Actually, no. I'm a liar. I saw an interview. Oh, and I just can't remember her name. She plays Bo-Katan. Her name has just slipped past me.
I don't know her name.
Oh, they did an actress for. They did an interview of.
Let's see.
Who are
Mandalorian.
Of
actress
Katie Sackhoff. They did a interview with her.
Yes.
And so she's also the voice actor for Bo-Katan in the animated series. And they were talking about how when she first came into the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni apparently was like, "Hey, if we play this well enough, this could be live action someday." And she was like, "That's never going to happen, Dave." There she is.
And look at you now.
Dave Filoni very carefully choosing voice actors that look like their characters.
Yes.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, they probably modeled it after her.
So I thought it was kind of that's fun, You voice this character, and then imagine Dave Filoni calls you up, or Jon Favreau, whoever it is. Hey, you want to do live action?
So what you're saying is we're going to see David Oyelowo in live action as
Stop that.
as Callus.
Stop that.
That would totally work. It'd be a seamless transition for that actor.
You know who we could see?
Who?
Fen Rao.
Yeah, okay. I would love to see live action Kyle. I was about to say the wrong name. Live action. Cal Kestis is stuck in my head now for some reason.
Are you thinking Sam Witwer is Starkiller?
No, I'd love to see that. What I'm trying to say is I would love to see live action Callus with David Oyelowo, and they just don't address the skin color difference at all.
They never acknowledge it.
For those who don't know, David Oyelowo is pretty dark black man, and Cal Kestis is an Imperial officer.
You mean Cal Kestis, the Jedi?
Gosh dang it! I don't know why the name is stuck in my head now.
Do I need to start the conversation?
Kestis and Callus, those are very similar names. Callus is a very white man, and because he's an Imperial officer, they're either white or blue. Those are the two colors. And it would be great if he showed up in live action. They just didn't do anything. Just didn't address it at all. That would be phenomenal in my opinion. Anyways.
No.
So we've got 2 Star Wars episodes to talk about today.
Over here. Did we Did we start that conversation when we saw See How They Run?
Almost certainly.
I feel like I leaned over to you in the theater and I was like, what if they bring back David? It's just... Anyways, we got 2 episodes. Do it.
So let's kick it off with a little bit of Bad Batch. Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 13, Pabu. It only goes downhill from there. But it also only gets funnier, too. This episode's hilarious.
First thing that popped in my head, and I said this when we watched it, I was like, Pabu, that must be a typo. Surely they mean Babu, as in Babu Freak.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Can you imagine if Babu showed up in this episode?
Let's put him in every episode.
He's like the Mickey ears in Disney.
What if he showed up in every episode but weared a slightly different like piece of facial hair? Like he's supposed to be a different... Man, I would love to see a running joke in Star Wars where the joke is it's a puppet, but the puppet itself is an actor playing a different character. So it's the actor Babu Frick playing a different character in Star Wars. So it's not like he's literally supposed to be Babu Frick, but it is the puppet as a different character. I would love that. Anyways.
Too good.
So immediately we notice that Fee is back. Which last week we were like pretty certain we would never see her again.
And first words out of your mouth, oh no, she's back.
And she wasn't as bad this episode.
No, she really wasn't.
If she ends up betraying them later, I'm going to be super pissed just because...
Look, she either betrays them with Sid or she and Tech live happily ever after. I don't know where they're going with that.
Yeah, good
point. The Tech girlies are going to be real upset if that
Little half black, half clone babies running around on Pabu. There's a lot of diversity in our Star Wars conversation this week. I would say the Mando episode's pretty diverse as well.
The clones are Maori.
Yeah. It's funnier to say half clone though. So there's a black market deal goes wrong in a bar. And
as they do.
We get drunk Wrecker.
Yeah.
Pretty fun.
I don't have a lot of comment. I only really have one comment about that scene.
Which is?
When I think either Fee or Omega says that they describe Fee as a liberator of ancient wonders. First thing that popped in my head was, that's what the British Museum said. Like, that's what they said.
Uh-huh. And so then they jump on their ship and just leave.
They did.
And they get a call from Sid. And I don't know why exactly Fee extrapolates from that message, but it's a reveal to us that they have cut all ties.
24 episodes later.
Like, what a monumental and phenomenal piece of information just to kind of drop on us all of a sudden. Made me incredibly happy.
Through a voicemail. Not an actual dedicated scene, a voicemail.
And she's pretty much threatening them, saying that we know each other too well, air quotes.
Air quote.
Meaning that she could easily turn them into the Empire.
Yeah.
I'm glad. And Sophie asked them, what's your plan? And he's like, this is it. And I was like, leaving her on red?
Ghosting her. This is it.
Oh, man.
Blocked. You can no longer send messages to this user.
I just tried to type down David Oyelowo and it autocorrected to David Ocelot.
Oh, no. So, yeah, like 24, 25 episodes later. Yeah. That is crazy. That means we've gosh, I don't know. I've been waiting for them to get to this point for a while.
It felt like it would never come, but here we are.
Joyous day, Kalukale.
And so then she's like, okay, well, I gotta take you somewhere. And right before that, they were having a conversation about how Omega's become an excellent soldier, but she needs like other skills and to be socialized and stuff. And so
girls gotta teach her how to paint her nails and do makeup. And I don't
gonna go to, what is it, finishing school? Teach her how to like balance something on her head and sit up straight.
Get her MRS degree.
And so they go to, I don't know if they say the name of the planet, but the city at least. The island is called Pabu. And immediately, well, not immediately, before they start talking to anyone, I got very strong Studio Ghibli vibes between the music and like the colors. Why are you laughing?
Because our conversation to get to Studio Ghibli
I couldn't.
was so
Okay,
funny.
so what I said, I could not remember Studio Ghibli or Miyazaki. Wait, is it Miyazaki?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. And I couldn't remember either of those names, so I went to who. It feels like who's the people who made like Totoro, and you go Japan. Like I know that's not what I mean.
So after 3 tries, we finally got Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
One thing I thought about that, it reminds me, this is going to be, I guess, a niche reference that I think I'm the only person that's going to get unless you've played it. It reminded me of the island you go to in Plague Tale Requiem.
I mean, I'm sure people have played that, but I don't get it.
None of our listeners, probably, if you're
Hold
out
on.
there.
So they meet a gentleman shortly after landing.
Named Shep Hazard.
That's what I'm just... Shep Hazard.
Yes, it sounds like Ship Hazard.
Because it's an island where boats crash? Like,
I don't know.
This is a dumb name.
Anyways, Shep looks like a leader from one of the Civilization games.
Oh, so just our weekly voice actor check.
Ah, yes. Who is it?
Amari Williams is the man who plays Shep Hazard, or whatever you
I
pronounce it.
know that name.
And he was the voice of Boulder in Transformers Rescue Bots. He is the voice of Two-Face in the Lego Dimensions video game.
I might have that.
But it's just like every week there is a... That's actually he's most known for. That's his top IMDb credit is Transformers.
It's all connected, Cameron.
Every week there's a Transformers actor. It's so great.
This is what connects to the robots part of the podcast.
He played in Transformers Autobot Alliance. He played Buzzsaw and Laserbeak. Classic Laserbeak. Transformers. And that's it for Transformers. Still though,
Hasbro's gonna get us.
he's in everyone's favorite video game, The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh shoot, for real?
Yeah.
Ooh, actually, ooh.
I was being sarcastic. He's in the English version of One Punch Man. He's in a lot of video games, which I don't know video games as well. The new XCOM. He's in Fortnite as the Cloaked Star. I don't know what that means. He's in some Spider-Man cartoons. He's in World of Warcraft. He was in a previous Star Wars thing, Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, as Prashi. Prashi. Who's Prashi? I'm curious now. Prashi is... it's loading. Just one of the aliens at the the cantina they go to. Maz Kanata's cantina.
That's fun.
So yeah. So that's another fun weekly. And his wife, I didn't realize he had a wife. I didn't catch that. Liana is played by Andy. His last name is Allo. She's from Cameroon, Africa.
Wait, like his wife in real life?
No, the character's wife.
Did we
Shep's
see
wife.
her?
I must have been really
Did
briefly.
we see
She's
her?
credited though. That's what she's credited. It's possible she got cut out. Sometimes
Yeah, I wonder if they
a
cut
character
out a
will
scene.
be credited in a thing, but then not actually be in it. She's actually done almost entirely live action before. So
Oh boy.
this is actually the first time she's done voice acting. You know what? I would have flipped it. I mean, I don't know. The guy who played Shep, I thought did terrible. That was my next point, as I was trying to get it to, was as soon as he started talking, and then some other lines of dialogue made it feel very like children's video gamey, like a point and click adventure for kindergartners.
Jack and Daxter. I thought Jack and Daxter. I also thought Wind Waker.
Are those both children's point and click adventures for 5-year-olds?
Well, no, but they are video games that are on islands.
Yeah.
I think it's technically Jack and Daxter too, that I'm thinking of.
And so whenever I first started listing off this guy's credits, I think you were saying
Who
something.
voiced his daughter?
Oh, do you know what? That's probably who it is. It's his daughter,
Yeah,
not
I
his
was gonna
wife.
say,
I don't know
I was
why I
like,
didn't think about that. That makes
"Oh."
way more sense. She was actually okay.
Yeah, she's fine.
She, for not having voice acted before, I thought she did a fine job. Now, she's a grown woman, so she probably will not be playing. It's not the same situation as before, unless they want her for something way down the road. Stranger things have happened.
Stranger Things.
Nah. Mind flayers actually in the next episode. So anyways, were you saying something before I started
I
listening?
do not remember what it was.
Well, if you remember, just shout it out.
I'm probably not
Interrupt me.
gonna remember. Not until I
Can't be
post
that
it on
important. So they start considering staying on the island. They don't give very good, like, convincing reasons for why they'd want to stay. Like, it makes sense why they'd want to stay somewhere so quiet and isolated. But as far as, like...
It's nice.
I think you would want to, on a narrative level, you'd want to give the characters more of a reason to stay.
Yeah.
And the strongest connection to the island is Wrecker really loving the food.
Yeah, or the fact that there are children Omega's age.
Yeah.
At least one.
And I don't know, maybe Tech does really have the hots for Fee. Just like
might.
Fee has the hots for Tech.
She loves that man.
And so then some tremors occur, signaling a flood. Did I skip something?
Yeah. The lights, Cameron.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, how could I forget this awe-inspiring Spielbergian-esque wonder?
As you said, congratulations, you've invented electricity.
They stop for a moment. I don't remember what is said, but someone's like, it's time. They're time for what? Take a look. And then, like, yeah, automatic streetlights turn on.
It's time for the streetlights to turn on so all the kids come home.
Yeah, like, I don't know. There's nowhere in our current society that would be interesting.
I'd be like, wow.
Imagine living in a universe where you have traveled to multiple planets. Wouldn't even register.
I think my thing, I was confused. I was like, it's not as pretty as Coruscant, which we see in Mando, but that's spoilers. We'll get to that.
Oh, man. See, there is a really nice moment in Mando where there's like a really quiet, short moment. They don't draw too much attention where he's like amazed by the city. Like, that is a nice, what a, man, the difference between these two episodes in in quality and like meaningfulness.
I feel like that also kind of happened last week, but switched with the Outpost. And then the second episode of Mando, not as drastic.
Not to such a drastic degree, but yes. Last week's episode of Bad Batch did have an actual narrative and felt like it was trying to do something. And
you get one every 3 episodes.
Yeah, So then there's some tremors, and they're
those
like
movies.
they go, I think there's gonna be some water surge, and like, no, we would know because there's a warning system. And then immediately, as soon as he says that, oh, great comedic timing.
Oh my, yeah.
If that's supposed to be funny, that is tonally way out of place, but it is accidentally hilarious.
So, yeah, so a tsunami is coming, and they're like, we have to, and so Omega and I think Lyanna, they're out on the boat. Honestly, if they hadn't turned back, if they should have just ridden out the water.
Yeah.
Like, if you're honestly, I think I'd rather be on a boat in a tsunami because you can at least try to get past the crest.
Yeah.
But it's also hard to tell on that planet. As you said, those aren't mountains.
Yeah. They see the wave coming, and in a reference to Interstellar, I said, those aren't mountains.
And every beat in the song is a year past on course.
And every second of animation is a year aged on the animators.
That's why our backs are so bad by age 27.
You were talking about they should have known to stay out farther from the ocean until the wave passed. I mean, farther from the island. These people aren't particularly bright because they are also like, it's been 30 years since we had any problems. This island was clearly originally they built high up on the island. And they had like a seawall, and then eventually they decided to start building on the other. So you have upper and lower Pabu, and sounds like a British children's television show. 30 years, in my opinion, is not nearly long enough to be like, because that means they must have started building no sooner than like 10 years ago. So that means 20 years is like, oh yeah, there's not been a horrible storm in 20 years. We can start building homes
Midwestern towns after a tornado
with no sort of system in place to save these people. Like, they have the ladders that are rusted over.
So bad. Yeah, you know, we need to evacuate some of these people who may not be able to, you know, maybe some older, younger kids. Throw them up the ladders. Throw them up the 50-foot ladders, too. The last thing, like the arm, first of all, it's a hanging ladder. Second of all, the arm strength to hoist yourself up that far, that's kind of a lot, but whatever.
Well, we're circling around my two favorite moments. The first of which being they go back through the town looking to see if anyone's left over. And there's this old man just casually sitting there. And like, did he not notice everyone panicking for their lives a few seconds ago?
These
and
young kids.
No one did anything.
Him. No one was like, hey.
I just knocked over a box, sorry.
Hey, Grandpa, we gotta go. Like.
Oh, man. And we had been introduced to this character earlier, and this man is so comically old. It's hilarious. Like, the voice performance is like anyone doing the voice of an old man. I can't hear you so well. I hope I don't get left behind in an emergency situation later.
It was just like, we have to look for survivors. And fortunately, they went down of the like 40 streets that are down there. They found the one old man.
And my second favorite moment is when they're like releasing the stairs. They finally get the release free, and it cuts this super wide shot of these like really long ladders falling.
Ladders.
And I just really wanted to bonk someone in the head so badly. And then
because the last thing I want to do is, if I can keep running up a ramp, I want to wait in line for a ladder.
It makes no sense. It really And look, the problem that we're being shown here is you and I would be very willing to overlook a lot of this in any Star Wars that is engaging or interesting.
I love funny Star Wars. I love when Star Wars doesn't make sense, but it was like,
or even in the midst of like engaging action, you don't think as much about the logic of it.
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't want to say my patience is running out with the Bad Batch. I'm still going to keep watching it. But I'm just like, the speed at which I expected season 2 to go based off of the last season was I was expecting a whole lot more. And I don't like to throw around, that's a filler episode, because I feel like that is thrown around so much lately.
Sure.
I like the second there's not, and like when there's like a slower paced episode, you're like, that's filler. And I'm like, that's not filler. And I hate to like throw that around, but it's like,
I'm all for wanting to do a one-off story. Yes. I'm all for wanting to do pure character development. I'm like, it's all entertainment ultimately. Yes. And it's television. It can be episodic. You can do these little one-off stories. You don't have to be telling an overall narrative every week.
Yep.
But when it is nothing, it's not entertaining. It's not teaching us anything. It's not like doing an interesting homage.
I think it's also just the consistency of these kinds of episodes we're getting in Bad Batch.
So anyways, to wrap up the recap, they get everyone to safety. They use the ship to go save Omega and her new friend, and then they're like, oh, okay. So then Tech says something that was a little confusing to me. I'm not exactly sure how long a rotation is.
Yeah. I feel like it's got to depend on each planet.
Sure, but I think the closest analogy would be a day, right? It can't be a year, because earlier in the episode they said Sid's message said it had been 20 cycles, and we know that Crosshair was on Camino for 28 cycles, something around there. So it can't be any more than like a couple days for one cycle. So let's say it's at most a week. Like that, there's no way it's any longer than a week as a cycle.
The rest of the season is just them rebuilding Pabu.
But he says Pabu will take several cycles. I can't imagine them. Let's say it's 1 week per cycle. Let's say it takes 7 cycles.
Maybe it's like the house in Encanto.
It's alive.
Yeah.
It
just makes everything up out of
It just seemed like a drastic underestimate for what it would take to rebuild half a town.
Yeah.
For an incredibly simple people.
Maybe they have an army of Bobcat vehicles. I don't know.
They don't have any technology except for construction equipment hidden in the island.
Construction equipment in the mountain.
It felt like it undercut the concept of this is going to take a while to rebuild. He just said the number just didn't really check out for me. Anyways, Hunter's like, actually, we can stick around and help, and that's the end of the episode.
That's it.
And so to address
Tech wanted to stay too.
Oh yeah,
he and Fee are side-eyeing each other.
That relationship makes no sense to me. I don't know. Obviously it would be a bit heavy-handed to have
every introvert guy needs a woman to wear the pants.
It would be heavy-handed and kind of cliched if he acted like he hated her, but at least that would be something. I just he just doesn't respond at all. I don't know what she's interested in about him, but
it's the goggles. Tech showing more affection for Fee, who we've seen in 3 episodes, versus Echo, who was with them for over.
What is your problem, child? Why are you emotional? Anyways, to address your previous comment about filler episodes, I think the pure motivation of this episode is just to give them a place to be attached to, so that when Omega gets kidnapped in a week or 2 or 3 seasons, whoever knows how long that's going to take, it was just they wanted them to be attached to a location once Omega gets kidnapped, and they didn't want to do it in the same episode.
Yeah.
So this episode was purely to make them have a place to live.
Yeah.
But it felt like it totally fell flat. Just 100%, in my opinion. I'm hoping next episode the Sid sells them out, the Empire shows up, and they kidnap Omega.
And then we'll have the week after episodes 15 and 16 season finale, and hopefully they'll get a chance to leave Crosshair again.
Speaking of which, it's been 7 days since the last
Crosshair incident.
The counter was reset last week.
Unfortunately. Can you imagine we just didn't see him again for the rest of the season?
He's taking a nap.
A dirt nap at that point.
So any other concluding thoughts about this episode?
I don't know. They left Sid, so we accomplished that.
Yes, you know what? That's a good point. That alone makes it an amazing Bad Batch episode. We got what we wanted.
Whoa.
True fan service.
True fans.
So,
did we talk about why are they still working with Fee if they cut Sid off when we were introduced to Fee via Sid?
Yeah,
maybe they're just like work buddies.
Knowing Sid, if I had worked for her and decided to not work for her anymore, I would not be working with someone I only know because of Sid, and I've only worked with once, as far as we know. It's talking about Fee, of course.
Maybe Fee just called him up because she wanted to hang out with Da Boys.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like
solar
a mistake.
cycles are for Da Boys and Fee.
This episode doesn't seem to indicate that Fee has any ulterior motives, but you never know.
Except for Tech.
Yeah, well, okay.
That's her ulterior motive.
Anyway.
Okay, well, also, here's one thing I wanted to talk about. So they're hinting so much at this chemistry between Tech and Fee that when Shep and Liana come to greet Fee, he hugs her, and Wrecker immediately elbows Tech and is like, "You got competition." And it's like, there are 2 options if that is her niece. Either that's her brother-in-law or her brother.
That's funny.
Those are the 2 options.
Well, you know what?
Collar tug.
Everyone on Camino, they were related to. So that doesn't even like the concept of family doesn't even faze them, I guess.
Family.
Yes.
Just gonna make a Fast and Furious joke.
Okay.
But yeah, anyways, that was my thought. He's like, "You got competition," and I was like, "From who?"
Yeah, it's a weirdly written show, but you get what you get. Anyways, done talking about this.
Sweet home Pabu.
Moving on to Mandalorian.
Mom Aunt.
Season 3, Episode 3.
I think you mean I saw this on Twitter earlier and I didn't know what it meant. Andorlorian.
Yeah. Not bad. Not a bad
Both Bad Batch.
parallel.
Both Bad Batch and Bad Batch season 2 and Andor. Oops. Mando season 3 had solid third episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. This episode's called The Convert. We start off with...
Oh, before we start.
Okay.
So we're starting the episode. We're getting through the helmet flashing. And so we're watching the intro.
When you say helmet flashing, you mean like the Star Wars logo
like the intro,
before everything on Disney Plus?
And so we're in the recap, and there's the quote from Din where he's like, "I must bring back proof." And I turned to Cameron, and so there's a lot of like baptismal themes.
Yes.
And we traveled 2 years ago to Israel.
Yes.
And it made me think of the fact that there are gift shops along the Jordan River where you can buy these little
dials.
Dials of a little too clear water. River water from a little too clear water. So my joke was like, he's just gonna bring back a little dial of water. Like how people could buy that.
And wouldn't you know about 2 seconds into the episode, he goes over and takes a little sample of water. You called it. It was prophetic.
One of our friends does that. Everywhere she travels to, she brings a little glass bottle and like she travels to a beach. She grabs a little glass bottle and she puts like sand and rocks and ocean water in it.
Interesting.
I don't know if you know who I'm referring to.
I have no idea.
That's I'll tell you later. Not on the podcast though, because that's doxing.
Well, I already said my roommate's name, but first names aren't normally. Anyways,
if anyone knows her though, they'll know.
So then they leave the planet and they immediately get into a TIE fighter dogfight, which is pretty dang sweet, if I must say so.
You did go on a bit of a little TIE interceptor.
Okay, you're gonna call me out on this. Okay,
pushes glasses up.
They're all TIE interceptors, and he says something about the TIE interceptors are stronger, and that ticked me off just a little bit. I know video game stats aren't normally canon, but in the original Star Wars Battlefront, the TIE Interceptors were not stronger. They were a fighter class where they're weaker and faster, and they have like a higher repeating firing rate. That's what I normally go off of in these things. Is I feel like the video games tend to give you the best idea of like how like the use of something, how strong it is, and they are smaller and swifter. They TIE Interceptors, so I think it doesn't really matter ultimately. But from my perspective, I think TIE Interceptors would not be stronger in the armor than normal TIE fighters.
It was just really funny because I think Din was like, those are strong TIE fighters, and you just go, they're TIE Interceptors.
He did call them Interceptors, I believe.
I don't remember. Din barely knows he's in Star Wars. But we do get to see a really cool dogfight, and we got to see Bo absolutely drift a Mandalorian ship, which was pretty cool. Turned that sucker on a dime.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I know in the past I've called out useless action, but
let's try spinning. That's a good trick.
It didn't feel as useless because at least they're traveling from one location to another, and it does seem to be setting up. There's a line she has where like this is too big of a fleet for a few local
for a local Imperial warlord.
Yeah,
because it's post Empire.
So I think they're setting something up with that.
R5 struggling in the background while Bo is driving.
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I
good.
am a big fan of droids in Star Wars, and him just being stressed out is so funny to me.
We missed the Gonki joke.
Oh, we don't need to say that on pod.
We'll just tweet it.
Oh, man.
Anyway, we'll just tweet it. If you follow us on Twitter, maybe keep an eye out if I remember to tweet that in 5 days.
Okay, yeah. And
her home?
They bombed it.
Gets carpet
They
bombed.
bombed the crap out of it. You got flashbacks to when they bombed Mandalore. It's the second time her home has been bombed.
Kalevala, is that what they called it?
I don't remember.
I don't know. She's like, they bombed. And Din is like, hey, we got a kind of a nice scene where she's chasing down those TIE Interceptors, and then 20 of them show up on the radar. And Din's like, hey, we gotta go.
We can make new memories in a new home.
We can make new memories in the glass on Mandalore. So they jump into hyperspace. And then we get to go to Coruscant.
Yeah,
for the next 40 minutes.
They're like, where can we go? And he's like, I know a place. And then they jump into hyperspace, and it cuts to,
Coruscant.
Well, it cuts to the opening title, and then it cuts to Coruscant, and we see Dr. Pershing,
we get an episode of Andor in Mandalorian.
You know what? I didn't even think about that. So pretty much what they've done is Mandalorian interrupted Boba Fett.
About time,
and now
Mando got
Andor is interrupting Boba.
I was gonna say
Mando.
About time, Mando got his own show hijacked.
So, and I'm all for this. I'm
Me
all
too.
For this. So Dr. Pershing is talking in front of a very large crowd.
Imagine it. Yeah, and he's talking about, he's like atoning for his career choice with the Empire and his cloning stuff. Two questions.
Okay.
One, do you think we'll see Pershing somewhere in Bad Batch? They're doing a lot of talking about cloning. Maybe he's too young at this point.
I think he's too young.
Yeah, you're probably right.
He'd be a kid.
Two, that's a big crowd. What if he's the only dude on that stage? That's a massive stage. What if they just started heckling him?
Boo!
Boo! And start throwing things at him. So yeah, he's talking about how he's like, I worked for the Empire. What's that scene from Wreck-It Ralph? I may work for bad guy, but that does not make me bad guy.
Okay, I'm gonna take one quick step. I was looking for canonical evidence to support my previous claim about the TIE Interceptors. On the Wikipedia page, it says lacking both shield and a hyperdrive. So there it is, lacking shields.
There we go.
They are fast and swift and not strong. Anyways.
So we see Pershing talking about his cloning studies, which that's just feeding straight into the sequels.
Totally.
And then kind of cool Kaminoan reference, because he makes
he just talks about the Kaminoans.
The
I would have always thought they were called Kaminoans until Bad Batch and now this call them Kaminoans. Is really interesting pronunciation there. I'd be interested to see what if they called them
regional.
Possibly. I mean, just I'm fine with having been wrong.
Pecan versus pecan.
I wonder though if they said Kaminoans in Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah.
I'm just curious. It's just interesting to me. There's like the pronunciation of Han versus Han, or the Falcon and the Falcon.
Okay, so the scene where after Pershing is like atoning, and all these people were coming up to him, and the one guy, me drafted. Imagine, the whole thing really reminded me of the Capitol from Hunger Games, with how out of touch they were.
Absolutely.
They're like,
oh yeah,
me drafted. Who can imagine? Like, that's why we stay out of these things. So it's just like, the
guy who's like Republic, Rebels, Empire. I can't tell the difference.
Yeah, and they're dressed to the nines. Dressed to the nines, just thoroughly lavish. And we talked. Was that the Opera House?
It looked very similar to the Opera House from the infamous scene in Revenge of the Sith where Palpatine tells Anakin the legend of Darth
Sidious. Oh.
See, I almost said Sidious.
Darth Plagueis. But so
Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Very interesting. How we saw Andor. Very interesting how fast the decor changes in those places. We saw it in Andor. From the Republic to Andor is very Imperial. They changed everything. Even in Bad Batch 2, we saw that in Coruscant. They were fast with that decor change. And then we see back in Coruscant, it's back to the opulence.
What do you mean by opulence?
The decor, the elegant decor, very high class.
I see. Yeah.
Luthen would have loved it. He's not not dead, but I don't think he's alive at this point. You had a funny comment. Politics in my Star Wars.
Yeah, it was very jarring to go from such a bombastic action scene to some very blatant political commentary, something we have not really seen much in Mandalorian, but something that is an underlying element of Star Wars.
It really went from haha funny Silver Tin Man to, is the new government really even better than the old government?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily a criticism of the government per se, to criticism of the people.
For sure.
It introduces this concept. It's been roughly 30 years since the Empire took over, which means there are people, like if let's say you were 30 years old when the Empire took over, you could very easily, have lived through all of it.
Well, sorry, continue.
So if you were a rich person living in Coruscant in the Clone Wars, you've supported this one war that was totally corrupt. Now you're supporting the rise of the Empire, and now you live the whole Empire rich, which means you must have done some shady, not so good stuff, and now you're living in the Republic. That's what these people are.
And we see that in The Last Jedi with Canto Bight. All these people who profited because, they sold ships. They carried on business as usual. They're rich. They're living it up. Eat the rich. Anyways. So, yeah.
And there's even, to step back on the list of people who were there, a golden Mon Calamari, which is, if you didn't already get, these people were very affluent. That sealed it. So yeah, it was very blunt and on the nose, but I thought it was a really fascinating idea of, there's this whole massive group of people who just have profited no matter what, who have lived through all these different wars and
tomato
are just so philosophically flimsy.
I was gonna say, I guess we should probably say, if you haven't watched like the first Mandalorian season in a while, this character Pershing was the doctor that originally wanted Grogu for the cloning stuff in the first season. Just
he
if
was
you
the
haven't,
Imperial officer working with the client, and for working specifically for Gideon.
Yes, I realized, like, oh, we should probably provide some context, but there's a fun little tidbit. We get to see this really nice scene where Pershing is being driven to the amnesty housing, and just this really gorgeous shots of Coruscant.
Oh, speaking of which, just to continue our recap, Pershing is part of the amnesty program.
Yes,
which is really fascinating. It's this program of they are like
it's a rehabilitation.
They're reintroducing ex-Imperials into the new society and giving them a second chance, which is really cool, because that is not something the Empire would have done. They would have been, oh, you are part of this. Like, they would have just killed anyone immediately. Oh wait, sorry, not killed. Sent to a camp, or sent to a farm.
They gotta go build the Death Star.
No, last week we established that you go to a farm. If you criticize Palpatine, you go to a farm.
You go live on a farm with the rest of the retired clones and with their pensions.
And the younglings and anyone
and Mace. There's like this funny little tidbit where the robot's telling Pershing about all the nice things about Coruscant, and he talks about they have a hyperspace technology museum. And I was like, you know who else has hyperspace technology?
Who, Rachel?
The Purgles.
Space whales.
The space whales.
Space whales.
From Rebels. So one thing, so he goes to the amnesty housing. The amnesty housing is extremely similar to where Cyril and his mother lived in Andor. And that, honestly, that might just be what apartments look like in Coruscant. But it was like, I was like, that seems just super familiar. One thing I noticed though, so Pershing gets there, and so, we talked about, so it's obvious he's gone through the reintegration camp, or I think that's what they called it, or the school, whatever, the reintegration program. Yeah. He gets there. They don't have names. They have numbers.
Yes.
Which is one of my, it's so weird, because it's like, cool, they're reintegrating the Imperials back into society. They've taken their names. They've given them numbers, which is just...
It's a very strange decision by the writers, because on the one hand, there's a logic, I think, to you were evil, and this name ties you to that, both for you mentally, but also other people might be able to identify you by that name. So we're going to change your name. But I feel it doesn't match what you would think the New Republic would be just to give them like that seems so inhumane to give them a number unless it's like once you fully graduated from the process, then you get a name.
Get your name.
It feels a little too. I think sometimes writers want to try a little too hard to make something like feel whatever. That doesn't quite ring true to me. Everything else does, like him not having an actual therapist but having a robot. That checks out.
Yeah.
Him having this menial job where he doesn't really get to do much. That checks out. Them like putting them all in the same house and like keeping them kind of sectioned off from society, that all makes sense. But they're also allowed to leave. They're allowed to go to this
within
like,
a perimeter
park. But it must be pretty good because they're allowed to go unaccompanied to this like festival or carnival or whatever it is
downtown.
It gets a little bit if they really want us to think that the New Republic is so whatever evil, if it's trying to say evil or just like not like it gets a little too radical centrist where you're like, well, both sides are actually not that is in the show. I don't think the show is quite that. It is obviously the Empire was obviously evil, and I like what I was really worried about was when Pershing showed up at the Amnesty House and there were these other ex-Imperials. They were all going to be like mean to him and like,
you can't sit with them.
I miss the Empire. Like these, they're like humans. I really like that they're humans. So the show is showing
just
truly
because you are a bad guy does not make you bad guy.
I do think it is an incredible episode, but the name thing, I feel, unless there's more information, and there's a show. There might be more information that we don't know yet. It feels a little bit like you're sending me mixed signals about who the Old Republic, New Republic is.
One thing I need to double check. So I wonder. There's a book called Bloodlines, which is about Leia post Return of the Jedi becoming senator. I need to read that because I'm curious to see. She gets a smear campaign against her. That's spoilers, I guess, for Bloodline. It came out a couple years ago. She gets a smear campaign against her because someone finds out Vader is her dad, and people are like, "Hey, that's no good." And so, I need to read that. It's on my list. It's on my shelf of Star Wars books to read, all the novelizations. But I'm curious to see if there's maybe some references in there. But so he gets to go to work. Excuse me. Which are in cubicles. Which is also, I thought, looked similar to where Surreal worked.
Yes.
Just a little more rebel-y.
How intentional it is, or it just, there is
maybe they just
a lot of parallels.
They just
but it's less, it's not great, but it is less like oppressive feeling than the Imperial stuff in Andor.
I was just going to move on because one thing I wanted to say that his supervisor said in that scene said, "Happy Bendu Day."
Go continue.
And Bendu is, and I'm so confused on what that means. I don't know if that's the name of a weekday because we get another weekday.
I think it is a weekday, yeah.
But it was very interesting because, I mean, of course he's like, I mean, granted, I go to my office and I'm like, haha, happy Monday. You know, the corporate small talk. But it was just very interesting. Happy Bendu Day, because if you've seen Rebels, you recognize Bendu as the great force-sensitive eldritch horror from season 2 that is like kind of neutral.
Yeah.
And I won't dive too much into that, but that was kind of fun.
That word Bendu actually comes from the early like screenplay.
Oh, does it? Okay.
It was the name for the Jedi. I think they're called Jedi Bendu originally. So that's where that word comes
Mace
from.
Bendu.
Very nice.
And
I thought there was another interest. Oh, so at his job, we learned that he is like cataloging all this Imperial stuff that they're destroying, and he's like, "This stuff could be useful." We're just kind of learning that they are just destroying all things Empire, and just mindlessly, just get rid of it. It's Empire. We're gonna destroy it, and he's been convinced by a fellow.
Sorry, before you move on.
Go on.
They also make a comment that they're also in the process of decommissioning the Rebel fleet too.
Oh yeah, they
which
mentioned
was
that. Yeah,
really interesting because I mean it would kind of make sense that they would be cataloging all of that. You know, make sure there's not too many just random hammerheads floating around out there. But it was just it was very interesting because I feel like it's one of those things where a lot of this show, I don't know, it just kind of showed like we're a new government, so we really need to take a note of everything that we have, even if it was stuff we used. So probably like we can't just have like, with the rebel, it was okay, it was a little disorganized, but I guess now that we're an organized entity, we can't just have people floating around. And if those were Imperial ships, because we know rebels stole them, stuff like that, which I just thought was kind of an interesting tidbit.
Yeah.
But so you talked, sorry. So he's got a truce, Pershing.
Yeah. And so he has become friends with a fellow woman at the where he lives. I'm totally blanking on what they called it.
The Amnesty Housing.
Amnesty
and
Housing,
she worked
yeah.
with Moff Gideon. She was on Moff Gideon's ship.
I think he recognizes her pretty quickly, but they mentioned that they both, and I knew I recognized her. She actually was on the command deck, which I'm a little surprised she survived that, because I'm pretty sure she was on there when our band of heroes attacked. I don't know. I thought they killed everyone, but maybe she wasn't on there that episode. I'd be interested.
Luke, not just the men, but the women and the stormtroopers too.
And she reveals later that her name is Elia Kane. She's played by Katie M. O'Brien. She hasn't done much, mostly television, but she was in the new Ant-Man, which none of us have seen. So.
Really? Who was she?
Have you seen it?
No.
Gentora?
No, not a clue. Yeah. I haven't seen it because my coworker saw it and went, it was bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I mean, yeah, that's what everyone is saying.
There's seemingly no good reason to see it. So, but she's in it. And so she seemed
good for her.
She's owned by Disney now. Good for her. And so, okay. So here's a weird, quick parallel. One of the two actors who plays the body of the Mandalorian is named Lateef Crowder. The black market dealer that they were dealing with at the beginning of this week's Bad Batch names was Lance Crowder. I don't know if that's a coincidence
Lance.
or not. Okay. It's an inside joke there. Anyways, so they get to talking, and he mentions, so them being Dr. Pershing and Elia Kane, Pershing mentions that he misses the like yellow travel biscuits they gave them in their rations in the Empire. And in the middle of the night, he hears a knock at the door, and he opens it, and there's a box there full of them. And she had mentioned in the conversation that you couldn't get them on the core worlds at all. So, and then she reveals later that it was her who got them, and she convinces him to like continue his research because it could help the New Republic. And so they have to go to a Star Destroyer that's being decommissioned to find the materials, and the travel is just fun itself. Like it's just literally them walking and getting on was effectively a subway. Not a subway because it's not underground,
monorail.
But like it'd be more similar to a monorail, except for it's Star Wars, so it's flying through the air with. Which always raises the question: how does anyone know where to drive on Coruscant? There's nothing guiding. And if it was all controlled by robots, I'd understand. But there are people driving things. So, anyways, it's just enjoyable. This kind of stuff always reminds me of the video games. Which Star Wars video games are almost as important to me as the movies. And just feeling, just walking around, the scale, the environment, the costumes, it all feels so Star Warsy. And it's just an enjoyable few minutes of just aliens around in the conversation, and
it's another sorry.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, a little moment of awe. They get on the transportation, and it takes off, and Pershing looks over his shoulder and just sees the city, and it's just a really nice little moment.
It's like we're getting a lot, maybe not a lot, but we're getting more and more episodes humanizing the Imperials. Totally. We got it last episode with the Outpost. Of course, we have to mention the Honorable Ones episode.
Humanizing. Last week, the Outpost in Bad Batch.
In a way, when I say humanizing, what I mean is like showcasing the It's in my head.
The officer in last week's episode of the Bad Batch was exactly like you expect an Imperial officer to behave. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that's necessarily humanizing.
I'm talking more about Crosshair's development.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess he's technically Empire.
I know, but like we're seeing, I feel like more content showing that the Empire is not just, an evil entity with bad guys in it, but
sure.
I mean, granted, I'm not going to excuse Pershing or excuse some things these guys have done. I do not condone the Empire. Just a very interesting side, because I think they painted these two. They painted Pershing, who was a minor antagonist in the first season. Everyone hated him because he wanted to, I don't know, drain Grogu or something.
Yeah.
So interesting painting him not as they're making everything. I feel like a lot of Imperials more rounded.
Oh, sure. I mean, that's the whole
Less
point of
one-dimensional.
Finn. They even do that a little bit with Hux, and obviously with your boy from Rebels.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they didn't. I just thought I was a little confused by your reference to the Outpost. Didn't necessarily do that. I would say that
Crosshair's got a long way to go.
Crosshair is more of a redemption arc because he was around before the Empire. Anyways. I see your point. And so they travel across the city and they get to the Star Destroyer, and there is zero security, but that also might be on purpose.
How are these two better at stealth than the entire Bad Batch?
Yeah. Oh, and as they were doing this, I said my new favorite genre of Star Wars is doing sneaky stuff on Coruscant, because that was some of the best stuff in Andor. Mm-hmm. It was one of the best episodes of this season of the Bad Batch. Mm-hmm. Probably the Coruscant episodes were good. Second best episode of the whole show, probably, and of Bad Batch. So like just people sneaking around on, especially Imperial. Well, I guess this is not Imperial.
I had a nickel for every episode in recent Star Wars we've gotten where we have a couple of people sneak onto a decommissioned or being repaired Imperial ship, I'd have 2 nickels.
Yeah, it's weird. It is interesting. I think there potentially, I was starting to think this, and it's starting to become a little bit more true, is I think they intentionally waited to release Bad Batch alongside Mandalorian season 3 because they were companion pieces. It seems like there's a lot of between the Imperial science element, between the Coruscant element. What else are we getting? I feel like there's probably a few more elements in there. There is certainly parallels to these two shows, but also it could have very easily been released alongside Andor as well. So, because actually it would make this more broad parallels, because Bad Batch is about living under a new Empire, and this new Mando is about living under new
Mando. We've seen quite a bit of the New Republic.
Yeah,
dude probably has 1 million speeding tickets on his record.
You mean Mando? Or yeah.
Mando.
And so they get to the ship and they find the stuff, and they have some nice moments where she reveals they say their real names to each other, and she's been flirting with him the whole time.
Pen Pershing, who sounds like pen pushing. Honestly, and I don't like. It's weird because I don't like to be the person when like 2 characters interact. I'm like, they're a couple. I don't like to be that person. But Elia and Pen had way more chemistry than Fee and Tech have had in like how many, like 3 episodes.
Absolutely. And then they get out and they get busted, but they only arrest him.
She snitched.
It's a little unclear exactly what her role is or exactly what she did.
I think she's just I feel like she's a spy.
Well, it's very clear that she is still, by a later action we'll talk about in a second, we know as watchers that she's still Imperial. Mm-hmm. But what her exact role within the new Empire is, because the cops show up and arrest him, and she grabs the box that he had of all the science stuff, and very scientific science stuff, and walks off. So was it always a sting operation? Did she, from the New Republic's perspective, did she intentionally set him up and let him go through all this? She could say she just gave him a push.
Is she going to pass off that cloning stuff to a third-party source that wants to clone Palpatine.
But my question is, like, what exactly is her role? Like, are they intentionally setting up these ex-Imperials to see how they behave when slightly encouraged to break the law? Do they know that she set it up? Like, I'm just curious from the New Republic's perspective, what was she doing? Like, did she lie? And why is she not arrested? I guess is the base question.
I know. And they were just going to kind of give him a little brain tickle.
Yes.
At first, I mean, and then she fried him.
Yes, so
fully scrambled his neurons.
So they put him. So they had mentioned earlier in the episode they were talking about rumors about what happened to Moff Gideon. They say someone said that he escaped while on his way to a war tribunal. Someone else said that was a cover story, and they actually mind flayed him, which we now know is some sort of like brain scrambling device.
Yeah.
And so they bring this thing out, and this
the VR headset.
A different Mon Calamari is trying to encourage him and saying, we know that
it's just
the transition is difficult, and we're gonna try some experimental technology to make you feel better and have some good emotions. And
solid Mon Calamari.
Thanks. And he can see out the window, I believe. He can see Kane, and he's Pershing, that is, and is saying, you set me up, or you lied, or something like that. And he looks at the machine, he's like, that's a mind flayer. And
no, it's not.
Yeah, the Mon Calamari is like, oh, it's the same thing, but this is a lot lighter. We found it. It's actually quite relaxing. I actually experienced it myself, which makes me wonder if he was also ex-Imperial. And
no, we don't really see too many non-humans.
Yeah, I know. But why else would he have gone through it? Maybe it could be used to treat PTSD if he was part of the Rebel Alliance.
Illumotherapy.
And so we see him being like, there's like electricity going through his brain, and we see him smiling, and they put some things on over his eyes to make him see colors. So it seems to be doing its job. Whether it's ethical or not, against his will, I think that's very questionable. But this officer is talking to Kane. He's like, we're so glad to have you. For every failure, we have someone like you. And then that officer just walks off. Everyone just leaves. And Kane is left alone, and she just cranks up the dial on the machine, and it goes from like blue electricity to red electricity, and
you start struggling.
Yeah. So either he's a vegetable or he's dead. And so clearly she is still Imperial. She's probably still working for Gideon or someone equivalent. And that's the end of the episode. No, it's not. There's a whole... No,
it's not.
This is like a 50-minute episode. There's a whole other Mandalorian segment in this episode of Andor. So it then cuts back to...
Anyways, back on the farm.
Our Mandalorian friends, and they go back to wherever the Mandalorian clan was at the beginning of the first episode, where they were doing their, as someone referred to in a video, their Florida baptism. And I skipped one note from earlier. When Pershing was trying to tell them that he was set up, he looks straight at the Mon Calamari and goes, it was a trap. And then it cuts back to the
feel like...
Mon Calamari. So anyways, on to the rest of it. The episode of The Mandalorian with the actual Mandalorian. They return to
the convent.
Yeah, the convent. The rest of the cult. Cult. And just to prove that's why Mando got the little vial of water.
I can't believe that worked.
Well, she like mixes it into something else and it reacts, and clearly that's enough evidence for the armorer. And she's like, "Yes, you've been redeemed," which I guess they were setting it up since season 1 that there are consequences if you take off your helmet.
When will you learn?
But the actual explanation of what happened was not introduced until Boba Fett. So this has been a problem for a whole 4 episodes of Star Wars television. And it's already this goes back to what we talked about last week of just them this like speed running through solving these problems.
Speed running.
And I guess ultimately it was all just a thing to bring Bo-Katan back into the mix, because now she's been also officially redeemed.
Yeah.
And so
that was funny. You've also been redeemed. And Bo-Katan was like, and they're like, did you bathe in the waters? Yes. Have you removed your helmet since then? No. And everyone cheered.
And then it was like, let's get turned into an Ewok party then. And pot of rock. So that's the end of the episode.
And they're all like, oh, sorry. They're all like, tap,
my
tap.
laptop.
They're all like, tap, tap. Give them little shoulder pats. And Bo-Katan is definitely like,
Don't like touching.
She always walks with her arms out like this. If you notice that. Like, not quite a T-pose, but halfway there.
So overall,
good episode.
Really good episode. It just
phenomenal.
It had action. It had story. It had subtext. It had really strong like character interactions. The performances were good. It didn't needlessly repeat a whole segment of its own episode. You didn't have people just pointing out things like it was a Teletubbies episode. These are all obviously criticisms of last week's episode. Yeah, and I thought to myself while watching it, if them speed running through Grogu and the Mandalorian being reunited so that they could allow an episode like this to happen,
I'm down for it.
All for it.
I'm a little I'm still struggling with forgiveness for shunning Boba, but you know, we can still see him.
Yeah, I would.
We can still see him.
It would be funny if the rest of the season, like, I guess you could say, last episode, the first episode was a Grief Karga / Anzellan's episode. The second episode was a Bo-Katan Grogu episode. This was an episode of Andor starring Dr. Pershing. If every episode is just starring some other character, that's cool with me.
Yeah, Mando finally getting hijacked in his own show.
All right, well, time to move on to everyone's favorite segment of the podcast.
Woo!
Meme minute, but it's longer than a minute.
Oh, I got
meme
a lot.
parsec, meme astrosecond, whatever. Start us off, Rachel.
I'm gonna start with, I think, the pictures first. So I saw this time. It said Grief's outfits are getting ridiculous, and it's the comparison of season 1, 2, and 3, and then it says season 4, and it's a picture, I think, Little Nas X from that yearly.
Yes, I almost sent that to you.
Ball thing that the celebrities go gala at Met Gala. I don't know. Either way, it was super funny. Oh my gosh, these are the only things that I can really just like say. I put them in the meme category.
Yeah.
I went to an antique store over the weekend. Actually, it's more like an antique mall. It's very large. And I saw this toy called a convertible series robot spaceship. And it's an off-brand transforming
That's
toy.
phenomenal.
It is so funny. And it was like $18. And it looks a lot like Rodimus from G1. So it's kind of funny.
Love it.
I will keep this pretty brief. The antique store in another stall was selling a Mandalorian Black Series figure for $20 with missing items, which is like not fully retail, but not too far from it. And I was like, the heck?
Nice.
I also found old, like vintage, like Revenge of the Sith era toys.
Oh, interesting.
I found 1998 Padme Amidala Barbie collectors, like collector's editions.
It's like early episode 1 toys.
Yeah, like early toys. A Saw Gerrera jump scare. The Funko Pop. You cannot escape him. And then, you know what I still found? Return of the Jedi Lando Calrissian Black Series figures at an antique store. I was so mad. Cannot escape. And then I think the last couple things I saw some Rebels toy figures, which I did not buy. I was a little tempted. And then I saw a really cool figure that I honestly really considered. It is a Gentle Giant Studios Star Wars Rebels Stormtrooper maquette statue. Very cool. Looked great. Had a stand and everything. $100. And I was like, I would pay $20. Maybe $25. I probably would have bought it for $25, maybe $30. But I was like, what?
Uh-huh.
I'll let you do the memes, but that's my antique store. Some of the antique store travels.
Yes, and it is bizarre how much Star Wars stuff is in a antique mall out here in the middle of almost nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So this meme I love. This is a video. It's a meme that's been around for a little bit, and you could definitely say this meme has run its course because it's kind of run out. But I feel like I had not seen this version before, and this is a really excellent version of this meme, and I'm just gonna let it play. Oh, my volume's not working. Sorry, I thought I had my volume up. That's weird.
Warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force. Dan? You want to meet him? We will each be challenged. Our trust, our faith, our friendships. But we must persevere. And in time, a new hope will emerge. Hello there.
And we're headbanging. So this is fun for this podcast since it is a combination of both of our interests. And the caption on that video was, "If Kenobi came out 2007," that's obviously the end credits song from the original live-action Transformers film. But I have not seen anyone do that meme joke and actually try to replicate the Optimus Prime speech at the end of that movie with audio from the thing. So using Obi-Wan's broadcast from the Jedi Temple at the end of that, so good. So funny. But then it ending with the "hello there," which is still it's all footage from the very end of the Kenobi show. Love it. So I thought that was a really good find.
I've got a lot.
Go for it.
So someone posted the clip from Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark. Where it's the scene in the town where it's the infamous scene where I think Harrison Ford had like dysentery during the scene, and the guy comes out with a sword to try to kill him, and he's being all flashy and hot, and Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, just shoots him. And it's just captioned, "Inquisitors trying to kill the ghost crew with their spinny lightsabers." And, it's got the guy prepping with the sword, and he's all ready. And then it says Ezra with the Glock saber. Oh, man. The
Glock saber.
You haven't seen the new Puss in Boots, have you?
I have not.
I've seen some good clips. And so it's Bo-Katan telling Din how miserable she was being Mandalorian royalty and why she absolutely had to join a violent extremist group. And so...
I never had much as a kid. Just loving parents and stability in a mansion and a thriving baked goods enterprise for me to inherit. Useless crap like that.
That's it.
I think that was probably just... John Mulaney talking in real life, and they just cut on. That was the voice. Was John Mulaney? Yeah,
that is John Mulaney.
That just sounds like something John Mulaney would say in real life because that seems to reflect his real life personality.
Another one I had. This is a very popular video that everyone's seen. It's the people in the bar. A lot of times it's edited with the DVD floating.
Yes. And
it hits the corner and goes, "Wah!" Someone edited that scene from last week's Bad Batch episode where Crosshair shoots that lieutenant.
That's great.
And everyone erupts into cheers.
That's so good. Very cute.
This is what you're just gonna have to see. It's from G1, Transformers G1.
All right, on this, visual memes are very good for this audio format.
It's just the way the animation is.
We've watched quite a few episodes of Transformers G1, and at some point we will discuss G1. But one of my favorite elements of that show is the constant flying from all of the and until we started watching this show, my only real exposure to Transformers was the live action films, in which very few of them fly.
We're culturing him.
But there is the running joke of Optimus Prime randomly being able to fly at the end of Transformers 4, but he can do it because he's got like booster feet. the Transformers, every single Transformer can seemingly just fly just without any sort of propulsion.
Unless they need to.
Yeah,
Remember
and they
like
drown.
the first time they drown.
And in this clip, Rachel just showed me, he's flying, but he's also swinging around a mace.
But he's also really slow.
But it's also really slow. It's really good. Okay, I got a video for you. I'm going to have to do another censor on this one.
Lightsabers are blue, lightsabers are red. I cut you in half. Why aren't you dead? Lightsabers are blue.
Oh, man. Need to write down the time code for that.
The time codes.
Yeah, I got 2 time codes so far.
Here's another one. In Star Wars Attack of the Clones 2002, Owen Lars tells his wife he will paint the ceiling tomorrow. 22 years later, in A New Hope, he still hasn't painted it.
Oh, man. Yeah, so if you look at the roof of the little dining room in the Lars homestead.
And the top, sorry.
It just looks like they started painting the roof and then just stopped.
Mm-hmm. And the top comment under that is, "This has been a relatable male moment of cinema."
Very good.
I have so many.
I got another one. Okay, so I captioned this. Obi-Wan asking Rex if he knows about Anakin and Padme's relationship.
You know that there was an illegal gambling operation going on just down the street from where you live?
No. It was illegal. What is that? I ain't heard nothing about that.
No arrests have been made at this point. Do you know that there was...
I don't know anything about that. It's his face too when he says it. He's like, I don't know anything about that.
I just like the idea of Rex being a terrible liar, which we see in season 7 of the Clone Wars.
It says, so Star Wars really said, "You guys are tired of Skywalkers? Fine, I'll give you the Fets." And it's a picture of Omega and Boba.
Say it one more time.
Star Wars really said, quote, "You guys are tired of Skywalkers? Fine, I'll give you the Fets." Yeah.
Love that. Here's another video.
Everybody says the same thing about their friend that's single, which is they're too picky. If they just wouldn't be so picky, they'd be married by now.
There you go.
Yeah, but from that side, I speak for those who are the single ones who say,
I'm not picky, is what he said.
somebody who's right, and
I want someone who's right.
because marriage is a serious thing. Everybody says
I just
Props
think
to
that's-
George Lucas.
I just think that's funny because
We've had this exact conversation recently.
we have this exact but also the thing is, he's been previously married before.
Yeah, but no, he's single now. He got divorced. I definitely recommend looking up in the story of
Looking up the
Lucas's
Lucas
divorce is
lore.
hilarious. I guess that's not as funny as it is. Just I love Lucas out here affirming the seriousness of marriage and how you should. If you're single, doesn't mean you're too picky. It means you've got good standards. Sometimes, not everyone. Some people are not too picky. I'm not gonna go to the whole relationship thing. Anyways,
I saw this meme. Which mall do you feel like today? Silent and Reserved, Episode 1 mall. Angry and Insane, Pre-Prosthetic mall. Confident and Chad, King of Mandalore mall. Weird Old Hobo Malachor mall. And then the last one is the picture where Maul finally makes it to Tatooine, and it's just captioned Kenobi.
I've got some really fun comments I found on Reddit last week concerning the Mandalorian episode. One said, the mythosaur is no longer a myth. It's now a confirmasaur.
Oh, canon sore.
And this other comment, there was some people being a little... I guess the term on the internet is they should be sent to horny jail because of the way they were talking about Bo-Katan and Mando.
Oh.
And someone just commented, space bonk.
Space conk.
Space bonk, space gonk.
I got a meme. Of course, it's the infamous Master Skywalker. There are too many of them. What are they going to do? And it's the picture of Anakin. But he goes, "What did you call me?" And he goes, "Master Skywalker." And the next picture is all of these little... It's the same kid actor, copied and pasted, edited next to Anakin Skywalker storming the Jedi Temple with red lightsabers. It's good.
I've seen that before. I like that one. Here's a Transformers meme. One of my favorite podcasts called The Weekly Planet. They constantly will just rename a movie, whatever they want to call it, while they're talking about it, or they will obviously like come up with joke movies, and then fans will make their own posters of the movies. And one here, and sometimes I'll get the reference from the podcast. Sometimes I will not have heard it before, or I've forgotten about it when I see it. But they're always funny when they show up on social media for me. Because there's a whole Instagram page dedicated to this, and this one is just called Cogman Begins. Cogman being the little Transformers guy from Transformers
Technically,
5.
he's he was supposed to be a headmaster,
Yeah.
but that's
You mentioned that before.
Yeah.
But just to open up Instagram, this you can see at the top of the screenshot, you can see that this is the very top post recommended for me. Just to open up Instagram, it's Cogman Begins. It's so funny to me.
So I have a meme that I will explain verbally, but I just want to show it to you, see if you understand it.
Is his name Domino?
Close.
Fives.
Yeah.
It's five. Oh my gosh.
So this is from, I think it's the end of season 5 that this happens. It's the scene where Fives finds out about the chips, and then he dies. It's the frame where Fives has been shot. And it's got the little blaster hole in his chest. The top picture is a picture of a domino, where the top has 5 dots and the bottom has 1. So it's like Fives of the Domino Squad shot.
Oh, he's in the Domino Squad?
Yeah, that's what they call
that's
the
real
Domino
perfect.
Squad.
Oh, man, that's really good. That's a good joke. I like that. This meme is not as funny as it is. Points out a kind of an interesting note. It's the meme comic of the brain is talking to the woman who's trying to sleep. It says, hey, are you sleeping?
Anderson.
Yes, now shut up. And the brain says, why are some ships in Star Wars named after alphabet letters when they use Arabesh? Arabesh is the Star Wars language, written language. Originally, in the original cut of New Hope, they did use English. But ever since then, and in the new special editions, and in every subsequent version, they have a fictional written language in all written forms in Star Wars, which raises the question, why do they have something called an X-Wing and an A-Wing and a B-Wing and a Y-Wing? What do those terms mean in Star Wars? Maybe that's why the B-Wing doesn't look anything like a letter B. So it's kind of a fun little canonical detail.
I got a meme. It's from Clone Wars, where Palpatine just absolutely owns Maul and Savage. And it's where Maul says, please have mercy, and Palpatine's like, there is no mercy. It just like shocks him, but it's captioned, the Amazon delivery guy, please have mercy, me saying the Darksaber must be won in combat to the death. There is no mercy.
Yes, very good. That is a good one. I have no response to it, but it's funny. This is my final one. I'm going to close out with a very, very silly joke.
And I have 2 more. I'll keep it brief.
It just says, no time to explain, get in the car Binks. And it's a Hot Wheel that's just Jar Jar Binks' face. And that's it for the week for me.
I had a couple more I didn't share because they weren't that good, but I've got 2. It's a scene from one of the Vader comics. It's a screenshot. And Vader is saying this. This is the quote. The reports are correct. Skywalker was one of the Jedi Order's most skilled generals. And Vader himself is saying this, and the picture down below is, I think it's the picture of Obama awarding the Medal of Honor
to himself.
I think Joe Biden. It's Anakin's face.
So originally it was, the original image was Biden, was Obama putting the award on Biden, but then someone photoshopped so that he's putting the award on himself. Yeah. So now this is the second layer of Photoshop where it's Anakin giving an award to Anakin.
So, and so this is the last one I'll close out with. I made this one myself. It's kind of low effort, but I love it. So, last episode, Din takes a little bit of a tumble in the pond. And I think it was either right before or after he gets out, Bo-Katan's like, Din, are you okay? And so I got to show this to you. So,
so good. Oh my gosh. Can you explain for our listeners what you just showed me?
So it's very simple. It's just the caption, Din, are you okay? And it's the screenshot from Andor episode 10 where Kino stops and the line is just, can't swim.
So good. That does remind me of a thought that I had just a few days ago that I meant to bring up on the pod.
I'm laughing too hard. I'm going to give myself a headache.
The spoilers for multiple different films, including War for the Planet of the Apes.
Can't swim.
I don't know why we were surprised that Andy Serkis's character died at the end of that. He dies in everything he's known for. He died as Caesar, the ape in Planet of the Apes. He died as Snoke. He died as Ulysses Claw in Black Panther, and now he's died here.
Hey, it wasn't on screen. It didn't die on screen. It didn't happen.
I have a hard time believing.
They gave him a floaty and they got him to shore.
There was some great illustrations on the internet of them pushing floaties with him on it or
it's
something.
like the Jack and Rose debacle, but Ken Kino survived swimming 5 miles of water. But either way, I thought that was the first thought in my head when we saw that. Can't swim. It was the scene that made me cry in Andor.
I think that wraps up the pod for this week. Unless you had another meme.
No,
that's it. That's a good one to close on. As always, thank you to Caleb Jacoby for our intro and outro music. Props to our very own Rachel for doing the artwork. Props to me for producing and editing.
Props to our supervisor, my cat.
Oh, yeah. We didn't hear at all from Athena this week because she's been napping over there. She stole my spot on the couch that's warm.
That's her spot.
Well, it's my spot while I'm here. We used to sit on other sides of the couch. We
I feel like we alternate every Star Wars show.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe I just rearrange
that's probably it.
The couch.
I normally just sit where you don't sit. You just started sitting on the other side. Anyways,
it's because I give guests.
Leave us a review on iTunes or iPodcast or podcast app or whatever it is called, or Spotify or wherever, or send us a review directly. And either way, we'll read it off on the pod if it's appropriate. If it's negative, I'll still read it gladly. But
you guys we're gonna get a bunch of joke reviews from our friends.
I would love that. That'd be great.
This is terrible.
Send us something to read. Feel free to send us memes, send us questions, send us hot takes, send us something to read on the pod. We'll gladly give you a shout out. And that's it for this week. Episode 10. We're through 10 episodes of podcasting. Kind of crazy. We started the first week of the year, and we're now midway through March. So
that's crazy.
We're a quarter of the way through the year.
Don't remind me. Oh my gosh.
So as always, this is Cameron and Rachel signing off saying, let David Oyelowo play live action Callus or Cal Kestis or whoever. I don't care.
Cal Kestis has his actor.
Good night, everybody.
He's mo-capped.